Hello y'all, and welcome to the Young Folk Knits podcast. Today, let's talk about stripes. Welcome to the Young Folk Knits podcast. My name is Casey, and this is a channel where I mainly chat about knitting. I also share some of my spinning, sometimes some crochet, some sewing, and who knows what else. I also like to share about living on a small farm here in Arkansas with my husband and our children, where we are beekeepers, we love to raise animals, our chickens, we love gardening, and spending lots of time outdoors in the foothills of the Ozarks. If you're a returning viewer, I really appreciate your continued support. And if you're new, then welcome. If you like all things making, then please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me to continue producing video content. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about stripes. I currently have multiple whips where I am working stripes. So I thought we could chat a little bit about stripe knitting and all the stripey things. But first of all, I do have a finished object to share with you today. So as y'all can see, I am wearing my finished Nightshift shawl today. I'm so excited that it's finished. Here, I'll take it off to chat a little bit about it. So this is a shawl pattern written by Andrea Mowry from Drea Renee Knits, and I used the same yarn and colorways that she used in her sample. So this is knit out of Spincycle Dreamstate. First of all, let me talk a little bit about last week's video. If you haven't seen it yet, I went into a little bit more depth about Spincycle and other color shifting yarns. I chatted about things I like about Spincycle and some good yarn substitutes that you can use. So my favorite base out of the Spincycle group is their Nocturne base, and that is a non-superwash wool. However, their Dreamstate and their Dyed in the Wool, which is their sport weight base, are actually superwash yarns, y'all. So in my last video, I did say that Dreamstate and Dyed in the Wool were non-superwash. The reason I thought that is because Nocturne is non-superwash, and I am able to spit splice very easily with this superwash yarn. So honestly, it blew my mind that this is superwash. I guess I should read the label. You know, I was just trying to make sure y'all were paying attention, keep you on your feet, and y'all passed the test. So thank y'all for always keeping me on the straight and narrow. I was very much mistaken that this was a non-superwash wool. So I learned something last week. So spit splice is like my ride or die. I love spit splicing. I hate leaving in ends. And I have never tried to spit splice superwash yarn because you're just not supposed to be able to, really. However, I have had no issues spit splicing this yarn. I don't know, y'all, maybe it's the way they prepare it, but I'll take it because spit splicing is the bomb. And maybe because I use real spit. That stuff is magical. So I'm not gonna go into too much detail because I did chat a lot about choices I made during this shawl. I ripped back multiple times, and I even went back on certain sections, like this salty dog yellow section. I thought it was too lemony bright for me, so I actually took a different section of the yarn that had golden yellows, reds, and pinks, and I cross-stitched over those stitches to really tone down that bright yellow color. I love that section much more now. It meant I didn't have to rip back that part again. Now, this entire section right here, I completely ripped back and used totally different yarns. So for this section, it had a lot of blue in it that I just did not think really matched the surrounding sections, and so I ended up using scraps from my other colors to knit this entire section. It's multiple colorways and scraps, lots of rusted rainbow in there, a little bit of nostalgia, shades of earth. So I loved how that turned out. It looks very bohemian and earthy. And then this section right here, when I finished it, ended up having a really harsh line because there was such a change in the two colorways. Whenever I joined my new yarn, it was just this super harsh line. So after I finished, I actually went back and sort of cross-stitched every inch or so along that line to make it less harsh, and I think it did a really good job. I'm very pleased with it now. It has a lot of different colors. So you're actually going to start out here, this little section, and you're going through here. Hang on. And I love how it ends with this deep bump and salty dog combo. I absolutely love that. So one thing I will say is that when I finished it, I felt like it was not quite as long as I like a shawl to be. I really like a shawl to be long enough to wrap around my shoulders, and the two ends hang down long enough that I have no worries of it kind of slipping back and it starting to fall off. I was definitely not there before I blocked it. I guess because this is superwash, it did grow a lot, and I was able to get quite a bit more length with blocking, and I was happy about that. However, it's still not the longest. I mean, it's big enough, but my ends come to right here, and I like them to come down low enough that I can tuck it under. And I mean, I guess I could tuck it under and tie it, but I don't know. See, it's already coming out. I'm still happy with it. And I'm gonna wear this a lot. My preferred shawl is longer, and it doesn't have to be super deep. I would prefer it to have more length to it than depth. So this is definitely a very deep shawl, but I'm still super happy with it. I really like it. I'm gonna wear it a lot, and I think it's very fun. There's absolutely no way you could think it was not homemade, which I do like. I think it's very bohemian, and somebody I think commented that it had some 90s vibes to it, and I agree. I love the 90s. I think the 90s is awesome. There's lots of green in it, but I really love the rusted rainbow a lot in this super earthy section. Yeah, these last three sections are probably my favorite. So it's all finished. I love it. And I would make another one, but I think if I made another one, I would add one more section on the end here. It would be very simple to just do section 10 again, and it would make it a little bit longer. It would also be deeper, but I think, you know, even that much more length would be helpful. I think I would really like the cowl version of this because it's going to be connected in the back. It definitely won't fall off. You don't have to worry about that. So I think if I do this again, I will probably knit it in the cowl version. It is mosaic knitting, so it's not stranded color work where you have two yarns at least moving down each row at the same time. Instead, you only work with one row at a time. You slip the stitches that you're not knitting with that color. It's very simple. I think that this would be an awesome first shawl and first colorwork shawl for somebody. It has a very neat, clean edges because you're doing an I-cord edge on both sides, and then you bind off with an I-cord edge. So very clean and neat. So let's talk a little bit about whips and stripes. So first up is a new whip that y'all have not seen yet, unless you follow me on Instagram. I think I shared it in my stories. But this is a headband that I have cast on and am working on. So after I finished my Nightshift shawl, I wanted a little bit of something that I could work on along with my test knit that I'm also doing. And my friend Becky, who is on Instagram as a hand knit letter, she had sent me a picture of this pattern. She's like, look how cute this is. And I was like, yes, I need to knit that. I love the plaid. My friend Anina, who also has a podcast, she sent me a voice message with the correct pronunciation of this designer and this pattern.
Suvi Lyytikäinen, Ruudut Solmulla. Suvi Lyytikäinen, Ruudut Solmulla. Suvi Lyytikäinen.
Suvi Lyytikäinen. Suvi Lyytikäinen. Suvi Lyytikäinen. Ruudut Solmulla.
Suvi Lyytikäinen, Ruudut Solmulla.
Suvi Lyytikäinen. Ruudut Solmulla. Was that even close, Anina? No. Okay. Anyway. This is that. Ruudut Solmulla. Ruudut Solmulla. I don't know. It's that. And it calls for a DK weight gauge. So she held a strand of fingering with a strand of mohair. I am allergic to mohair, so I knew I was not going to be using mohair. But whenever I made the Cargill Junior sweater, which I tested for Rebecca from the Correa Bea knitting podcast, I got some Isager alpaca 1 yarn, and I wasn't sure what color whenever I ordered yarn. So I had some gingerbread in alpaca 1, and then I also had this peach color in alpaca 1 and 2. So the alpaca 1 is a lace weight, 100% alpaca. It's not like a Surrey silk or a mohair. It is a plied lace weight yarn, but it is 100% alpaca. So I decided to hold my gingerbread color in that alpaca 1 lace weight triple. So I'm holding 3 strands of it together. And then I thought I could use my leftovers from the Cargill Junior in that peach color as my contrast color. So I am holding 1 strand of the alpaca 1 lace weight and 1 strand of the alpaca 2 fingering weight, which is 50% wool, 50% alpaca. It's so soft. So as you're knitting this, it is knit in a tube, but I did a provisional cast on. You have a couple of different options for a cast on. I did a crocheted provisional cast on, and then you do some fancy stuff so that stitches are rearranged. I don't want to give too much about the pattern away, but this is closed down here. This is not an open tube at the bottom. And then as you go up, you're going to be working stripes. So either at the end or as you go, to create the plaid, you also need some vertical stripes. So I am attempting to do it as I go, and I am crocheting those stripes up per the pattern. And what you can do is put a few stitch markers in these little loops that are hanging there as you're crocheting your stripe up, and then they won't go anywhere if you have some little stitch markers in there. I don't have any in there because I'm not that worried about it, but I probably should put some in there. I'm not gonna lie, it's very fiddly. I have 2 balls of yarn that I'm using from this gingerbread color, my main color, that I'm holding triple. So I've got 3 strands coming from those 2 balls of yarn. Then I have these little balls, almost like I'm doing intarsia knitting, that are hanging out here from the vertical crochet stripe that I am doing. Plus, every so many rows, which the pattern tells you how many, I need to do a horizontal stripe in my contrast color as well. So I've got ends like you would not believe hanging out inside of here. So yeah, it is fiddly. It really is, but I think it is gonna be worth it. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the plaid. I'm working this on magic loop because starting at the bottom, you absolutely cannot do 9-inch circulars because, as I said, this is closed here at the bottom. So maybe by the time you get up to about right here, you could switch to 9-inch circulars if you want. I have not. I'm just sticking with magic loop, although magic loop is not my preferred method. I don't mind to do it. I just don't love doing it. What do y'all think? This was actually going to be a gift for someone. However, I love it so much that I don't know if I'm going to be able to give it away or not. What do y'all think? Is this my color? Or no? Should I make one in a different color? So you're going to knit this to the length required, and then you do some fancy finagling with the needles to make a knot at the end, and it's going to be permanent. I'll put a picture of the finished headband on the screen. So I think it's beautiful. It's soft, it's fuzzy, it's very dreamy. Now, if this were around my neck, the alpaca is nice, but I can feel it. It's a little, I mean, it's there, but I have so much hair. If I were to wear it as a headband, I would never feel it. Also, y'all, next time I say I'm gonna get bangs, could you please smack me? Okay, the other striped whip that I'm working on is one you have seen before, and it is the Farnham sweater. This is a test knit for Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl, and I absolutely love it. So this is a drop shoulder design, which then has a rolled collar that you pick up and knit. And I have finished the collar. It's got those fabulous stripes in it as well. And I'm now working on the body, and then I will pick up and work the sleeves. I am knitting this with one strand of Knitting for Olive Merino, which is a fingering weight 100% wool yarn. And that is being held with one strand of the Camarose Surrey lace. Is it Minatsol? Minatsol? I can't remember because I can't remember exactly how it's spelled. It's the first time I'm using that yarn, and so I can't remember the name. But it is Camarose. And I'm using the exact same combo for the black stripes. Also one strand of Knitting for Olive Merino fingering, and one strand of the Camarose Surrey lace weight yarn as well. And it has a beautiful drape to it. It's very fluid. So the beginning of the round on this sweater is on the side. And since there are so many different stripes, this is an excellent pattern to work jogless stripes on. I did not do the jogless stripes here on the collar, which is on the side, and I should have. I was not paying attention, I wasn't thinking, and I didn't do it. I am going to go back when I weave my ends in, and I'll try to fix that a little bit. It'll make it look a little bit better. But since I am now working down the body of the sweater, I am going to do jogless stripes. So the way that I do that, and there are multiple YouTube videos, I will link some in the description box below. Also, a side note, I always try to link patterns, yarns, and different techniques I talk about. All of that should be in the description box below. So there's a little arrow that says description, and you can click on that. It's either under the video or beside the video, depending on what kind of device you're watching on. But all of that info should be there, and it will be clickable. So what I do to create jogless stripes, and what that means by jogless is whenever you're knitting stripes, and I've heard it described this way, circular knitting is not just row, 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 very neatly stacked on top of each other, like stacking plates on top of each other. That's not what it is. There's not a end and then the beginning which sits perfectly. Instead, you're knitting in a spiral. So there's always a little bit of upward movement there on your knitting rows whenever you come to the beginning of your round again. And whenever you have those stripes, it becomes really visible. So there are different things that you can do. You may have a preferred method, but to me, one of the easiest ways to get rid of that visible jog Sorry, still don't have my voice back. One of the easiest ways to get rid of that visible jog is to do this. So whenever you come to your contrast color, you're going to join that yarn, knit one round of that yarn all the way around. This pattern calls for multiple rows of the same color stripe, so that makes it easy. Whenever you do your second round of that contrast color, what you can do is you get back to your beginning and round marker, slip your marker. So then that very first stitch, you're going to pick up the leg, that right leg of the first stitch, and put it on your needle. And then what you'll do is just knit that leg and the first stitch together. So you can just knit them together. And that is going to lift that up, and you're going to get rid of that jog. It looks much neater. Very simple, quick, and I think it's so worth it to make your rows look really nice and clean. So let us know in the comments what your favorite / easiest / best looking result is that you like to do. So another aspect of knitting stripes is that you can either carry your yarn whenever you finish a contrast color, or you can break your yarn at each color change. If at all possible, I prefer to carry my yarn because I absolutely hate weaving in ends. So one of my favorite things to do is just carry my yarn up the inside, and I will catch it just like I catch floats in color work. So here's an example. All along the shoulder here, I carried my contrast color and I just caught it like it was a float all the way as I was working it through there. And that way I don't have a gazillion billion extra ends because I've already got a lot of ends to weave in. A key to doing that is to keep it loose. If it's too tight, you're gonna have a lot of pulling. When you go to block it, it might get bunched up there because the rest of your fabric will probably block out a lot, and that's gonna be stuck because of that string there. So you definitely want to keep it loose. For instance, here's one that I forgot to catch. I did not even catch it, but here is one float here, and you can see that. But I tried very hard to keep it loose so that whenever it's blocked, I could easily tack that down, but it's gonna have enough stretch there. It's not gonna keep it from growing or stretching or moving if it needs to. Another option is to cut your yarn after each contrast color. That is what I'm doing on my headband. There's so much distance that I don't want to have to carry my yarn up that much. And also I've got 2 yarn balls with 3 strands that I'm working on the headband. I just don't need those other 2 contrast color balls plus my little bobbins that I hand made there to crochet up for my vertical stripes. It was just too much. So in that case, I chose to cut my yarn and I will just weave in my ends when I get done. Because of that, you definitely are going to have some control to tighten up your stitches there whenever you weave in your ends. Whenever you join a new yarn, that stitch can get really loose and it shows. And if you are just carrying your yarn, it's going to be a little bit harder to control that. Whereas if you do cut your yarn, then you'll be able to, you could tie a knot, you can weave your ends in a way that it's going to hold it in place a lot better. So I do think it's more professional, clean looking to probably cut your yarn at each contrast color. I just don't always roll that way. I also want to talk a little bit about the Bougie sweatshirt knit along, which is still going strong. It started December 28th maybe. I'm trying to remember. December 20 something. And it is going to last until the end of March, so March 31st. And all we're doing is knitting a cozy, comfy staple sweater. Any sweater pullover pattern that you want to knit to add to your wardrobe is totally fine. And since you are knitting it yourself, it is bougie. I just want to say I've absolutely loved all of the projects that I have been seeing. I need to get on Ravelry and check the thread there. I bet that there are a lot of comments. I am so bad about Ravelry. For one thing, it doesn't alert me when there's a new post. Whereas like Instagram, I get a ding or a notification, and Ravelry, I have to manually go in and look, and because of that, it slips my mind. So I'm going to try and do that today because I really want to see what all everybody has been working on there. And keep tagging me and using that hashtag because I love seeing them. I think they're absolutely fabulous. That makes that everyone is doing. I think that this sweater that I'm doing this test knit is going to be a really great bougie sweatshirt, but I have also cast on the Serene sweater, which is by Kadri, and I am using this absolutely delicious Tundra Sport yarn from Native Fibers on Instagram. But she gifted me this sport weight base, which is 50% alpaca and 50% wool. It is unbelievably soft. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I picked this color, which I think is called Hearthstone. So I had cast this on. You may have seen in a few episodes back that I had cast this on for the Bougie Sweatshirt Knit Along. And I actually finished the collar and tried it on. And my neckline was a little bit tight going over my head. And I love the pattern so much. I love the yarn so much. I just wanted it to be perfect, and I hadn't really started any of the increases yet. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to stop here. I want it to be perfect. I ripped back, and I am going to do the German twisted cast on, which is my absolute favorite. I don't know why I didn't do it to begin with. I don't know. Maybe because I had COVID brain. But I am recasting this on today, and I think that sweater is just going to fly because I got through the collar really quickly when I was working it before. I really want to get this sweater done. I'm going to cast that back on today. I do have one thing in acquisitions that I want to show y'all. So I actually won a giveaway, and this is a January box from a fiber collective. If you guys have been with me on Instagram for a while, you know my love for autumn and indigo yarn runs deep. I absolutely love it. Claire is so good at the dye pots. But she has now started a new business, which is a monthly club, and you get a box with not just yarn, but some really amazing goodies in the box each month. So this is the January box, and I wanted to show y'all what all came in it. So first of all, this is the little card. It tells you exactly which box there is. There's multiple boxes, so you can get the sock yarn box, the hand-dyed yarn box, or the farm yarn box. This is the hand-dyed yarn box, and it tells you on the back of the card what is in each box. So this one came with a skein of Little Fox yarn. Love a Little Fox yarn. This is the True Wash DK, and it is a 100% organic merino. I think it's superwash. Yes, it says treated. So it's got 264 yards, 115 grams. That's a pretty good skein there. And it is a Fiber Collective color fun guy. So I think they dyed it just for this box. Also comes with this absolutely stunning stitch marker set from Horse Feather Fiber Arts. I have bought multiple stitch marker sets from Horse Feather Fiber Arts. I love her stitch markers. Then you get this Knit Keeper cord accessory set, kind of like the barber cords. You have the silicone cords that you can use to put your sleeves on hold. You can put your body on hold. You can try on your body. I love these things. I don't think I can ever go back now that I've started using them. And it comes in this really nice little holder for that. You get this adorable sticker from Apartment 2 Cards, Winter Sheepy. And you get a leather tag from Birch and Cinder. Let's open that up. Oh, how cute. It's a leather tag that says handmade. And it comes with a screw. So you could put it on the bottom of your sweater, the hem of your sweater, or on your hat. You could put it on the cuff of your hat and just screw it on. This is beautiful. Absolutely love it. So that is a pretty cool monthly box. I really, really like that. It's great that it's not just yarn because it's going to give you a chance to try out some new knitting accessories, which you might not find on your own. So I really like that. I think Claire has done an amazing job at sourcing those different products. She has also started a podcast, so y'all be sure and check that out. It is a Fiber Collective here on YouTube. She's an amazingly talented designer. She has tons of free patterns, and so you definitely want to take a look at her website. All right, y'all, it looks like the winter storm is moving in, so I better get busy. I need to get my things done outside, and then I can knit some stripes.
was leaving. I couldn't even tell you what road I was on, or if I was only dreaming. Don't you wanna know, don't you wanna know that you're on the right track, that you're on the right road, you say. Don't you wanna know, don't you wanna know that you will be fine if you just keep moving on and don't look back. Don't you wanna know, don't you wanna know that you're on the right track, that you're on the right road, you say. Don't you wanna know, don't you wanna know that you will be fine if you just keep moving on and don't look back.
All right, y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, I really enjoy chatting about knitting with you. Please subscribe if you're not already. It helps my channel out so very much. I always appreciate every comment and like. Your support means so much to me. So until we chat again, happy knitting, y'all.